Disney wants out of the culture war. That is what CEO Bob Iger has said to investors, as he says it is no good for the company's bottom line. What he doesn't say to investors is that he's the one who thrust the company headfirst into said culture war, and he has managed to put this company into a negative light, not only with conservatives, but moderates as well. If you were ever looking for Disney to admit defeat, this is the time, and we have full analysis right now. It is as close to a mea culpa as you are going to find out of Bob Iger and the Walt Disney Company, as they seem to now be admitting they do not like participating in the culture war. And in saying that, they are suggesting, I suppose, that they indeed have been a player in such. Joining us to play around with the news of the day is Views with Hughes back on the channel. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me, Pro. How you doing?
Happy to have you, and I'm doing very well. Folks out there, we hope you are well as well. And if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button. Let's get straight in to the news. This time we're going to Reuters for the beginning, but we do have some significant takeaways as well that are much harder to get a hold of, and we'll talk about those in just a bit. This by Don Chmielewski. Disney CEO says company will quiet the noise in culture wars, according to analyst note. Here's what we've got. The Walt Disney CEO Bob Iger told investors the company will quiet the noise in a culture war that has pitted social conservatives against the global media and entertainment conglomerate, according to an analyst note on Wednesday. Now, let's go ahead and notice the framing here. I don't think this is pitted social conservatives against the company or against Bob Iger. This is far more broad. Otherwise, you would not see the kind of fall that you have witnessed, and you would not see the kind of response that Disney is now giving. The company is at war essentially with Florida, a war that it could never win and has not won, and is losing badly and is costing it tons of money. It likewise has jumped into the social fray and has alienated not only conservatives, but likely moderates as well. Iger's brief statement included an analyst report from Needham media analyst Laura Martin. I was part of an investor's presentation on Tuesday at Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida, in which the CEO also announced Disney will double its investment in theme parks and cruise ships over the next decade. Another misnomer here, folks. $60 billion is what Disney has announced. When you look at the cruise ship investments and when you look at the cost of inflation to the company, as well as other factors, including an increased number in theme parks that will be invested into versus the prior decade, well, it all comes out to reveal that we are at best status quo and probably not even there. So far, not so great for Reuters, but we'll keep going forward. Disney is struggling to make its streaming business profitable, improve the quality of its films, position its flagship sports brand ESPN to stream directly to consumers, and potentially shed its television networks. In its most recent quarter, the company beat Wall Street's profit expectations, but fell short on revenue. Disney declined comment. The entertainment company was thrust at the center of the nation's culture wars in 2022. Stop. Views. Did Disney find itself thrust into the culture wars, or did it thrust its own self straight in there like a crazy person out of a cannon?
Well, not only did they thrust themselves into it like it was a cannon, but at the same time, they're just now seeing that it's a problem. You know, they don't want to believe that. Bob Iger didn't want to believe that. The people who that he hired didn't want to believe that. You can see from yourself, like those who were fired from the different companies months ago during their layoffs and stuff, where in their profiles that they want to promote DEI initiatives. Okay, so we already knew what their intentions were. The issue, the problem is they're now seeing, they're just now acknowledging the consequences of those actions that they had before, and it's like they were more focused on the big investors like Larry Flint, for example, who owns BlackRock. Okay, they're more focused on him, what he wants and everything, rather than what the audience wants, assuming that they're going to go ahead and get new audiences. But the problem is, over the past decade, past decade and a half, all right, Bob Iger want to go ahead and continue to push this and keep pushing it, but then ignored the fans to the point where the fans and everything started tuning out. And this isn't just social conservatives and stuff. No, like you said, it's also the moderates, and also it's a few like really progressive people out there who are further to the left, who enjoy Disney movies and cartoons and everything, but they didn't even want the politics in there. Why? Because of the simple fact that they saw that Bob Iger, he's a liberal individual, right? You agree with me, bro?
And well, he calls himself a centrist, but the proof is in the pudding, and this pudding is way to the left.
Oh yeah, and to like, so since he's actually pretty liberal himself, then the progressives out there, and this is I've observing this war between those who are further to the left, like progressives, as well as those who are liberals and everything. That's a war among them. Okay, they don't like what Disney's putting out there because of the simple fact that they see what they're trying to do. All right, they're just trying to go ahead and use their beliefs in them as a way to help them make more money to get line their pockets even further, as well as to become the special interest that cater to the politicians out there.
Well, Hughes, let's break this down into very simple terms for the folks out there. Not that they need simple terms, but this is just so basic. Is when you look at Disney Plus and you see that on their streaming service, some of their most classic tales now come with disclaimers, warnings, telling folks out there that it's not appropriate material anymore. You are casting, casting a severe punishment upon the very remembrance of Walt Disney himself.
Yep.
Because you are castigating the man who started the company when you castigate the very things that he worked upon. And then on top of that, we have seen time after time this company decide to do things which have put it into a light that is deeply political. Not only that, but Bob Iger himself seems to have been the CEO who left and then decided that he wanted back in and was willing to, shall we say, usher the company into a hard political stance just so that Bob Chapek would be put into a difficult position, and then he was chunked out just like a hippo in distress. Now, Hughes, the interesting thing, too, is that I don't see the pivot from Disney. So this is what Bob Iger is telling investors, but I don't see the pivot because we've got Snow White and the Seven Dirty Hippies coming up. That certainly does not look to be anything less than extraordinarily political. We've heard reports that Snow White is going to be an independent female socialist warrior in this upcoming film. That's bizarre, and we've heard that from sources that we trust. These are not crazy whack job reports. So let's take a look now at what we've got out of Needham. And folks, apologies on having to censor much of this. We want to be careful not to expose parts of a report that are not intended for public consumption, but we do want to give you what has been discussed here to the best of our ability. I want to go to number 2 on the key conclusions, Hughes. These are the takeaways by this company who is helping out investors greatly in understanding what was said by Bob Iger. Talking about the most important silences, in other words, the things that people did not get to hear about that they desperately want to hear about as investors. And these two, you might say, are things that have led them to lose confidence to some degree in Disney. The Hollywood strikes were not brought up at all. China, and this is amazing that Needham, this is amazing that investors now are saying exactly what we've said, Hughes. Folks out there may not know this. This is earth-shattering in that here we have on the Pro Show and on the Pro Channel said this over and over and over that this is a huge risk to Disney. And then, so many out there in the Pixie Dust commentary class, they come out and say, oh, this is nothing. This is so stupid. This is, oh, well, guess what? The major investors in the world are worried about it. Here's what it is. China geopolitical risks to the Shanghai and Hong Kong theme parks. In other words, if China does something that puts China even farther away from the West, i.e. they mess with an island, what happens with the theme parks that Disney does not own, but they are heavily invested into? China can take those theme parks at any moment. And then also, why buy Disney now given a plethora of near-term uncertainties, even though Disney has a strong LT growth profile driven by parks and cruise ships? So those three things were not discussed. And here are the 3 disappointments Disney did not address. Apparently, Iger didn't say a word about this, about the weak films, right? The loss of the box office, linear TV economic risks, and streaming losses update. And that streaming losses, I think, is combined straight into that weak films situation where you might just put this under one single umbrella of families have walked away from Disney content. So, Hughes, is it surprising to you that Disney chose not to address these issues at all?
Heck no, it's no surprise at all because of the fact that the CEO himself doesn't want to take accountability. No one in that company wants to take accountability. They don't want to apologize. They don't want to admit they were wrong about anything. Not to mention Needham, as well as other people, they're about 3 or 4 years too late to realize that this is a problem. Also, where it says that, you know, where it was like weak film, even films and stuff. No, it's beyond weak. If you actually go ahead and go into YouTube out there, myself included, you as well, pro, they're going to learn that it
catastrophic failure, Hughes. That's what I would call some of
basically.
these things like Strange World and Lightyear.
Oh yeah, not just them. Basically, the whole MCU of Phase 4. All right, not to mention, you know, with the different failures of, you know, the different shows on Disney Plus as well under Marvel and Lucasfilm. Okay, and oh, not to mention like even the stuff from Pixar with Baymax and all, not Baymax, but that one character from Big Hero 6. I forgot his name.
Yeah, you got a Baymax.
Yeah, Baymax. I had it right. I didn't. I can't believe it. Anyway, that shows I don't watch it, okay, because I don't want to watch it because of the fact that thanks to Jonas J. Campbell, he showed how woke it is, and yeah, I wasn't interested in that anyway. But the fact of the matter is, they put this on themselves, okay. With that, and with when that comes along, the audiences turn away. That's going to affect the streaming numbers and stuff. What's going to affect the money that Disney has put into it. But the thing is, BlackRock as well as other investors put so much money into it, they got little in return. Okay, so that's why, you know, they're saying they're going to dial it back. We heard it ourselves from Bob Iger in an interview on cameras and stuff that he's going to fight tooth and nail and everything for diversity and including the programming. But now all of a sudden, there's no cameras around. He's announced that he's going to dial it back a bit or just get out of the culture wars entirely. Make it apolitical, okay? I never thought I'd say this, but Disney, I want to say Disney's becoming the new Bud Light. But the problem is, Bud Light's actually been doing that and shot themselves in the foot for like a few months. Disney's been doing that for years, if not the last 4 or 5 years, possibly a decade.
Right. Well, I think that Disney is probably the precursor to all this that we've seen with that particular alcoholic beverage company. Hughes, I do want to take a look at one last thing that's over here in this report. If we go to the bottom, it says that his key goal, talking about Bob Iger, key goal, his key goal. All right, folks, this means it's priority number one is quiet the noise because the culture wars are not healthy for Disney's business. It goes on to talk about how his plan is to turbocharge growth at the parks and resorts, which I find interesting because I don't see a way to do it. We have been told by very high-level sources inside Disney that the company now realizes it has maxed out the amount of money it can drive out of families and guests. So that's gone. The only other way to turbocharge it is to increase capacity. And I see no examples of the capacity changes happening. But yeah, priority number one, Hughes, is that now they want out of the culture war. And I think that's fascinating because the mainstream media, which are, they're the voices of Disney, they have told us over and over and over that Florida would lose, that there were a bunch of rubes out there, that Disney, they knew what they were doing, and the vast majority of people were on the side of Disney. Well, now Disney wants out. Disney has been pinned on the mat, and they're ready to get out from under this culture war because they're losing badly. And Hughes, before I hand it to you for comment, let me just say, folks, if you're wondering how badly this has gone, well, inserting itself into the culture war has resulted in the Walt Disney World Resort now being under the control of a new special district. That's because the state of Florida looked into what was going on with Disney and the old special district and found that Disney had essentially set up a system to capture a local government. Good Lord. And so that's got a criminal investigation actually going on right now. But in terms of the investigation into Disney's actions with this future local government, our investigation shows that this could cost them up to $1 trillion over the next many, many decades due to the cost of inflation, due to the fact that they'll be paying way more for all kinds of services. They are essentially on level footing now with the other theme park businesses in Florida. They no longer have their own Vatican City in Central Florida, and Disney is going to pay out the wazoo. That's right, folks. Strong language today. Out the wazoo because of their decisions to get into very contentious politics. And now they want out. Hughes?
Disney better hurry and make a deal with the striking writers as well as the actors. Okay. Well, I want to say they can replace the writers. That they can be replaceable. Get some writers out there that can actually go ahead and know how to tell a good story with good characters and everything.
You're saying that that Snow White and the Seven Dirty Hippies is not great writing, Hughes?
Heck no, and we didn't even see the writing for it. We didn't even see the trailer for it in the first place. No, we see the one mouthpiece of it, Rachel Zegler, going out there, going in and talking about how good the film is going to be, how well written it's going to be.
Or Rachel Zegler.
Yeah. And if you go ahead and try to do a quick course turn, make the deal with the striking writers and actors, go ahead and work to put out there the good quality programming and everything, I guarantee you're going to make back the money where you're going to have to pay for all those fees and everything for the coming decade. Okay, like you just stated with the incoming government for down in Florida. Now, Bob Iger has a chance to turn this around. He could try to go ahead and make it quick, just as they did with trying to rush the films and everything. Like to the due date, the VFX artists and everything, trying to rush them to go ahead and put the graphics out there so that way the trailers will be ready and the movies will be ready. But the thing is, Bob Iger, it's coming at a time where it's too little, too late. He sees that he's trapped now. Now, I'm more concerned about if he's going to take accountability, admit that, what's been doing, he's been doing is actually wrong. He wants to go ahead and change things. He said so far he just stated that he wants out of the culture wars and everything. That's fantastic. But we're waiting to see action because he said this before, nothing came up. Okay, we also saw this in Bob Chapek. But the problem is the difference between Bob Iger and Bob Chapek. Bob Iger has much more invested into this company. Bob Chapek, he has to listen to the board. He had to answer to the board. Bob Iger is the one that chose the board.
That's right. It is an Iger board.
Not only should it, and what you said in that last comment from Needham and everything, the fans have already said that. Not just YouTubers, the fans have said it as well. Not just the fans in the comment section on social media and as well as videos, but also they answered. No, we've answered with our wallets. Okay,
that's right. That's right. The votes are in when the dinero is the vote, the ballot. But Hughes, it's amazing to me because you're exactly right. Disney has said often, first of all, they said that they were not involved in the culture war. Then they had to admit in court with the state of Florida that they were invoking political speech and that's why they're being punished. Turns out they've dropped that charge as well. But yeah, actions speak louder than words.
That was the only time that I didn't mean to call you off your own show and everything, but that's the only time that they actually go ahead and took accountability was when they're in court, not in front of cameras, not on social media, not on interviews. No, when they're in court. Why? Because they know that if they go ahead and lie in court, they're going to face some perjury charges, and then they're going to have to either pay fines or somebody's going to jail. And the fact of the matter is, the fans weren't being listened to. Okay, not you, not me, not Lorena Creole, not even the whole Midnight's Edge crew, not even the subscribers of our channels too. All the fans. Okay, that's what led to people actually, because they forget the people who were once children eventually grew up and become parents, and parents don't want their children to be falling into stuff that they've put out there already.
That's right. Unfortunately, when Disney says that they're in favor of diversity, that is a word that means something different to them. And I think it means to all the rest of us when we say, why, of course, we want to see people of all backgrounds, all creeds, all ethnicities, everything. We want to see, of course, we want to see, that type of content. And then Disney takes that word, scrambles it up a bit and says, well, how about having a robot dispensing feminine products to a teenage girl in one of our cartoons? And you're like, that's not what. Oh, and what if we had a boy into the restroom at the same time? And that's not
Max.
That's not what we. Yeah. So that's the situation with Disney. They use that term as a Trojan horse to sneak in all kinds of stuff that common sense people don't think is very commonsensical.
Yeah. And here's the thing, bro. I'm a socially religious conservative myself. I'm not a fiscal conservative though, but at the same time, when I put my stuff out there, I keep it apolitical. All right. I don't try to go ahead and put a certain agenda out there or any of that. Okay. I try to stay apolitical as best as possible. I try to give what the audience want. Why? Because the mainstream out there, they're go ahead being political, whether it's on the right, whether it's on the left. I just go ahead, get the things out there, try to put out there in a manner that's not biased.
Right, as impartial as possible. Yeah.
Because under my name, under my logo and stuff, at the bottom of it says agenda free news. That's what I'm living up to. That's what I'm sticking to. Okay.
Well,
Whether
hopefully
it's
Disney, hopefully Disney can become agenda-free entertainment for children. Wouldn't that be nice, Hughes?
oh, it
But
would
again,
be nice.
folks, we said this earlier in the week when we found out that the Ahsoka ratings did not prove Disney right. In fact, showed that Disney was probably not being fully truthful or at least misleading, especially when we found that Bluey defeated Ahsoka in its debut in terms of Nielsen ratings. We're not going to be fooled by Disney. And so Disney needs to come to the table with some accurate stuff, or else we walk away from Disney. And right now, I don't see any reason to think that Disney is going to moderate itself politically until they take action. So as long as we get stuff like Snow White and the Seven Dirty Hippies, as long as they continue to make movies and hire people who have agendas at the center of their desires, then I'm not going to buy into Disney's statements. I do want to bring in, though, a special guest who is coming in from location at Disney World. Let's see if we can get Lorena Creole to join us and have a chat. Lorena, welcome aboard from the Polynesian Resort. Lorena, what do you make of this latest statement that Bob Iger wants out of the culture war and perhaps because of Disney World?
You believe that? I got some swampland to sell you.
Well, they have plenty of swampland, but it's not yet for sale. If they continue to penalize themselves by putting themselves in hot political positions, though, maybe they will have to sell off some parts of Disney World. But Lorena, what would you want to see out of Disney before you believe them when they say that they want to turn down the noise?
Well, I'd like them, first of all, to get back to just making entertainment for everyone to enjoy. No agenda, just focus on fun and family. Just that. You get back to doing that and doing that on a regular basis. I mean, like over the course of probably like a year or so.
Yep.
And that'll do it, because we need to see a track record. We don't need to see just we'll throw you a bone just to keep you happy. And no. Your customers who have been with you for years and who have left because of this culture war nonsense, you owe them. So one, you need to produce that kind of entertainment. And two, you need to give a heartfelt apology, not just platitudes. Admit you screwed up.
Absolutely. Lorena, it's so nice to see you coming in from location at Disney World, where actually this report comes out of that we've been discussing. And Lorena, right now is not the peak season for Disney World. However, that said, you have a good idea of what crowd levels are like and what the general mood and atmosphere is. Iger seems to want out of this political culture war that they inserted themselves into. So do you sense in your time there at the parks that perhaps things are dire? And you would not expect a mea culpa unless things are getting down low for the mouse.
Absolutely. It's a weekend, so you've got like the locals who live in what I call the Thunderdome, which is that corridor, 5-4 corridor from Daytona to Tampa. So we're kind of in the parks on the weekends, but during the week, it's been like a ghost town. The wait times are down. Like say in the Magic Kingdom, that's the smallest park. It's like a ghost town in there. All the other parks, the crowd levels are notoriously low during the week, except for Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom on Mondays is always crowded, no matter what. For some reason, that seems to be the thing. But the crowd levels are down. There are more discounts, or like I call coupons, in the merchandise. I mean, I've never seen so many sale tickets at all. And speaking of sales, this past Wednesday, I went to what had to be a shopping event like I've never seen Disney do.
Oh my gosh, yes. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh. Imagine like a Costco, but Disney merchandise that they're trying to get rid of. And this was at the Wide Wildest Sports, the ESPN complex that was there. Nothing but pallets of merchandise, and not just merchandise that's on the floor. We're talking wrapped up, boxes and
right, stuff people wouldn't buy.
Stuff people would not buy. 50th anniversary merchandise. People were like, forget that. I'm not paying that much for it. The little soap dispensers that would put out soap in the form of like a Mickey head. I think they were like $15, like $3. I got
Up here,
two,
up here in
two of those.
Virginia and other places, we call that Ollie's warehouse stuff.
That's
It,
right, Hughes. It's a giant Ollie's down in Disney World
it's
today.
literally, yes, that's exactly what it is, and the prices, just the amount of discount that they were doing. I mean, at least 60% off of stuff, crafts, collectibles, Funko Pops, Trader Sam's merchandise. I got a Trader Sam's like chip bowl and dip thing for like $20, and that sucker sold for I think 60 that I
Well,
got that for.
when you have a giant garage sale down there in Disney, trying to load off all of those various items that people were either not there to buy or didn't want to buy in the first place, I think it speaks to not only what a failure the 50th celebration was, but also the position that Disney find itself in, because you never, ever, ever have heard of such a thing as a giant yard sale at Disney World, yet that is where the company is. And it makes sense why Bob Iger now wants out of the culture war. Hughes, as we wrap up, tell us where we can find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there.
Well, y'all know y'all can find me. Y'all can find me on Views with Hughes on YouTube and Rumble. You can also find me as Mr. Rummy Rome on Twitter. And I'm also thinking about starting up a few other social media channels as well. But also, Pro and Lorena, I want to let y'all know my father-in-law and mother-in-law got me something I didn't think would exist and everything, but they actually exist. A Darth Vader toaster.
Oh my gosh, a Darth Vader toaster. I bet that does more damage to
Nice.
bread than a lightsaber can do to Sabine Wren.
Oh, it got the dark side. It got the dark side setting on it too. But also, I do have an EP coming out later this fall. I haven't decided when I'm going to release it, but I've also been busy working on that too. That's why I've been putting out less videos and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and wait to put out more videos and stuff and try to jump on that at the same time too.
Well, I am impressed by your moxie, Hughes, and I hope you'll keep us updated with all of the stuff that you're doing so that we can send that out to all of the fans out there. Of course, you are a fan favorite of the channel. Lorena, I know that you're down there at Disney and you're participating in that park place now as well as your own channel. Where can people find you? What are you up to these days?
Well, folks, I've got on Instagram, of course, on Twitter, X, whatever, on YouTube, various videos, live streams, pop culture analysis, gaming, and of course, right now I'm at Walt Disney World. So Saturday, I'm going to work today, live streaming from the Magic Kingdom, just kind of taking in the fall decor and atmosphere, and maybe crashing one of the other resorts. I'm not quite sure which one exactly, but I'll be doing that. And on Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be live streaming from Halloween Horror Nights. We are going to be all in the fog, going through the scare zones, and hopefully getting a chance to watch the Nightmare Fuel show, which is insane.
Well, one thing that is not nightmare fuel, folks, is the Lorena Creole channel, and it has taken off like a rocket, celebrated 5,000, then 6,000. I have a feeling 7,000 is going to be the next live stream coming up real soon, not only because it's the next big milestone, but because I bet that those numbers are flying now as Lorena Creole takes off on YouTube. So happy to see it, so pleased, and so thankful that you could make it with us from the parks on location as Bob Iger seemingly needs to get those parks out of the culture war, also his content as well. Lorena, I saw someone behind you, a nice-looking lady who had a delicious-appearing iced latte. So, since you're at the Kona Cafe, stop by and in the name of Pro, go grab a delicious iced latte and enjoy your time at Magic Kingdom today. We hope you have a wonderful time. Folks, we hope you had a wonderful time and that this was enlightening as we look at the fact that, yeah, Disney is on the mat and they're ready to be let go. They are tired of being in the culture war, which they, and by they we mean Iger, inserted themselves into. So, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below and tell us, what would it take for Disney to prove to you that they indeed are getting out of the culture war? Words, I think, matter not. So tell me what it will take in terms of their actions. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Say it ain't so. This just in. Disney lost money on another movie. Why, that can't be. I thought that John Lasseter fella over at Pixar was cranking out the latest hits, and Marvel was unstoppable, and Disney princesses were a thing, and Star Wars was a multi-billion-dollar money-making franchise.
I overheard you talking about Disney, and wanted to let you know you're really behind the ball. If you were getting great articles from thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel, you'd actually be ahead of the culture curve and have entertainment explained.